The 25 Curiosities of the New Year. Number 25. Ancient systems of counting the year. Before the adoption of the Gregorian calendar and its consolidation in much of the world, many cultures established the beginning of the year according to their own astronomical, agricultural, or religious references. In ancient Egypt, for example, the year began with the flooding of the Nile River, a vital event for agriculture. In Mesoamerican civilizations, such as the Mayan, complex day counting systems combined solar calendars and rituals, giving rise to cyclical periods with profound meanings. The Celts, for their part, marked stages according to solstices and equinoxes, connecting human time with natural forces. These ancient systems reflected a vision of time closely linked to survival and community life. The year was not just a mathematical unit, but a metaphor for the interaction with the earth, the sun, and the moon. Beginning the year could mean the rebirth of the crops, the arrival of the rainy season, or the return of light after the darkness of winter. The celebration of the new year, then, was an event full of spiritual meaning, which required rituals, sacrifices, dances, and ceremonies to ensure the prosperity of the cycle that began. The evolution towards a unified and globally accepted calendar was gradual. The invention of the printing press, the expansion of trade routes, and the influence of powerful empires homogenized dates, stripping time counting of its original multiplicity. However, traces of these systems survive in certain traditional festivals, liturgical calendars, and community rituals that, year after year, recall the complex chronological heritage of humanity, forged in the intimate observation of nature and the need to harmonize with it. Number 24. The first New Year's advertisements. The connection between the change of year and marketing dates back to the end of the 19th century, when newspapers and magazines began to publish advertisements that took advantage of the festive atmosphere to promote products and services. With the arrival of the 20th century and the consolidation of advertising in mass media, companies saw in the holiday a perfect opportunity to launch emotional campaigns, associate their brands with the idea of renewal, and express wishes of prosperity to their clients. The first advertisements emphasized the quality of the merchandise, but also the symbolism of the change of cycle, reinforcing the notion that a new year brought with it better opportunities. Radio and, later, television allowed advertising messages to reach broader and more heterogeneous audiences. This context encouraged the creativity of advertisers, who began to design specific spots for New Year's Eve. Brands of sparkling drinks, cars, luxury watches, and haute couture clothing were associated with values such as hope, success, and joy, creating a collective imagination in which consumption was part of the midnight ritual. In this way, the greeting, "Happy New Year," became not only an expression of courtesy, but also a carefully crafted commercial wink. With globalization and the growth of digital advertising, the first New Year advertisements paved the way for contemporary practices, in which companies from all sectors take advantage of social networks, streaming video, and influencer marketing to position their products in the time horizon of the turn of the year. This evolution shows that the new year, a millennia-old cultural and social phenomenon, has been able to integrate itself into the dynamics of the modern market, turning the date into a key moment for corporate communication and the consolidation of brands in the mind of the consumer. Number 23. Taxes and fiscal year changes. The notion of a new year is not only a cultural and festive matter, it also has economic repercussions. In many countries, the fiscal year is aligned with the calendar, starting on January 1st and ending on December 31st. This synchronization facilitates the filing of tax returns, the closing of company balance sheets, and financial planning, since companies, governments and individuals know exactly when they must file documentation, pay taxes, or settle their accounts. This temporal integration has its roots in political and administrative decisions made throughout history. During the Roman Empire and the Middle Ages, rulers selected dates that coincided with seasonal cycles or religious events to mark the beginning of the year. With the consolidation of the Gregorian calendar and the growing importance of international trade, January 1st was imposed as the fiscal start in many regions, seeking greater clarity and uniformity. In this way, the New Year's celebration acquired an administrative dimension, functioning as a turning point in both public and private economic management. The coincidence of the change of fiscal year with the civil calendar influences the perception of time by citizens and businessmen. New Year's Day, besides being a day of celebration, becomes a time of economic anticipation. While some raise their glasses to prosperity, the financial, accounting, and tax departments prepare to begin a new cycle of records, audits, and analysis. This double dimension, festive and fiscal, illustrates the complex relationship between time conventions, financial needs, and social organization. Number 22. Public clocks and chimes. Long before the digital age, public clocks and chimes marked the pulse of civic life. The sound of the chimes not only indicated the time, but created an auditory link between official time and the community that depended on it. On New Year's Eve, these monumental clocks took on exceptional prominence. Iconic cities such as London, with its Big Ben, or Madrid, with the clock at Puerta del Sol, bring together crowds who anxiously await the exact moment when the hands strike midnight. Each chime is not only a temporary warning, but a symbol of the closing of one cycle and the opening of the next. These clocks not only measure time, they also tell stories. They were silent witnesses to historical events, wars, coronations, and profound social changes. Their solemn presence instills a sense of continuity and tradition in the New Year experience. People look at them knowing that previous generations also gathered under the same mechanism, heard the same metallic chime, and experienced similar emotions. Thus, the sound of the carillon becomes an intergenerational bridge. Today, although digital screens and global broadcasts abound, public clocks retain their special aura. They are geographical landmarks where people gather with family, friends, or even strangers to share a unique moment. The sound of the carillon at the turn of the year resonates in streets, squares, and avenues, unifying the community in a symbolic act that transcends technological modernity and reminds us that, despite the complexity of our societies, the time we share remains an emotional anchor that links us to our past and our future. Number 21. Variation in the duration of the event. While in many nations the New Year celebration is concentrated almost exclusively at midnight on December 31st, other cultures extend the celebration over several days. The Chinese Lunar New Year, for example, involves weeks of preparation and festivities that include family reunions, the exchange of red envelopes with money, dragon parades, and rituals to ward off bad luck. In Iran, Nowruz coincides with the spring equinox and lasts for 13 days, a time when families visit loved ones and set tables with symbolic objects related to renewal. These variations reflect diverse cultural perspectives on time and the significance of the change of cycle. For some societies, the annual transition is a momentary event, a concrete point in the timeline. For others, it involves a gradual metamorphosis of the environment, marked by changes in nature, agricultural cycles, and social relations. It is a reminder that the Gregorian calendar, although widely accepted, is not the only way to perceive and articulate the passage of years. temporal diversity invites us to question the apparent universality of January 1st. Although the globalized world has established shared standards, local traditions and cultural heritage continue to influence the way we experience the change of year. In this way, while some count the seconds before the bells chime, others immerse themselves in slower, more leisurely and immersive festivities, experiencing the new year as an organic and complex process, closer to the cyclical essence of human life. Number 20. The first new year at the South Pole. The first expeditions to Antarctica at the beginning of the 20th century led adventurers and scientists to spend New Year's Eve in an extreme and isolated environment. At primitive polar stations, without telephone or radio connections, and surrounded by a frozen landscape alien to human conventions, explorers celebrated the change of calendar with modesty. An extra piece of chocolate, a sip of liquor preserved for the occasion, or reading aloud a letter received before leaving were simple gestures that acquired enormous symbolic value in the white immensity. The experience of welcoming the new year at the South Pole underlines the relativity of time. While in the civilized world the chimes, fireworks, and parties were abundant, there, in the Antarctic solitude, the passage from one year to another could be almost imperceptible. Light and weather conditions blur day and night, and the notion of an exact moment of transition loses weight. However, these small improvised rituals reminded the expeditionaries that, despite the distance, they were part of human history, its chronology, and its desire for renewal. The arrival of more consolidated infrastructures, permanent scientific stations, and satellite communications did not eliminate the uniqueness of spending the new year at the South Pole. Today, scientists, technicians, and support staff working at Antarctic bases commemorate it with special meals, conversations between colleagues, and video calls to distant relatives. Thus, the new year at the edge of the planet remains a testament to the human capacity to take its traditions and rituals to the geographical limit, demonstrating that the awareness of time and the desire to mark its transition travel with us wherever our footprints reach. Number 19. Meteorite records in the new year. Throughout history, meteorite falls have been documented around the turn of the year. Although there is no scientific correlation between the beginning of the new year and meteoric activity, the coincidence in time has fueled legends and superstitions. Medieval chronicles recount cases in which the appearance of luminous bolides in the night sky during the first minutes of the year was interpreted as a divine sign, a warning, or a promise. On other occasions, simple coincidences aroused the curiosity of historians, amateur astronomers, and chroniclers of their time. The symbolic value of these astronomical phenomena lies in our need to give meaning to the unpredictable. A meteorite crossing the sky at midnight on December 31st to January 1st can inspire reflection on human fragility, the immensity of the universe, and the ephemeral nature of time. It also reminds us that, while we mark the change of year with human artifice, the cosmos continues its imperturbable dance, oblivious to our calendars and conventions. These records, whether evidenced in ancient diaries, modern scientific studies, or oral accounts, underline the cosmic dimension of the human experience of time. Although the new year is a cultural construct, the occasional presence of an astronomical event on that date connects the symbolic plane of the celebration with the physical reality of the universe. In this way, the fortuitous clash between human chronology and a celestial phenomenon feeds the collective imagination, reminding us that we live in a vast setting where our temporal measurements are nothing more than an island in an ocean of infinite spaces. Number 18. Influence on public transport scheduling. New Year's Eve and the first hours of the new year put the logistics of public transport in large cities to the test. crowds flock to city centers to attend concerts, fireworks displays, or gatherings in iconic squares. To meet this exceptional demand, authorities often increase the frequency of trains, buses, and subways, extending schedules and enabling special routes that facilitate the safe return of attendees to their homes, even in the early morning. This organizational effort requires meticulous advance planning. Transport companies work in advance by analyzing data from the previous year, anticipating the influx of people and coordinating with the police, emergency services, and cultural institutions. Coordination ensures not only the comfort of travelers, but also safety, reducing the need for people to drive their own vehicles amid crowds and possible states of intoxication. The efficiency of public transport reinforces citizens' trust in urban infrastructure, making it an essential component of the collective New Year ritual. In addition, this temporary adaptation of public transport demonstrates the flexibility of contemporary metropolises. Cities prepare for an event that, although brief, implies a drastic change in mobility and in the use of urban space. This responsiveness, which combines data analysis, economic planning, and empathy with citizen needs, becomes a logistical victory that, year after year, guarantees that the beginning of the new cycle is not only celebrated, but lived with fluidity and harmony in the metropolitan fabric. Number 17. Cancellations due to extreme weather. Weather conditions can frustrate the most elaborate plans. Throughout history, heavy snowfall, torrential rain, or hurricane-force winds have forced the cancellation of public New Year celebrations. In some cases, the decision to cancel fireworks or outdoor concerts is made at the last minute, causing disappointment among the thousands of attendees who had hoped to participate. However, these cancellations are necessary to protect people's physical integrity and avoid accidents or major mishaps. Extreme weather not only affects celebrations, but can alter the way the new year is experienced collectively. Without the bustling crowds on the streets, cities show an unusual face, with pedestrians scattered seeking shelter and the sound of rain or wind replacing that of music. These situations remind us that human celebration, no matter how organized and planned, remains subject to natural forces. The imposition of weather on our plans reveals the fragility of our rituals in the face of a changing environment. Despite the momentary disappointment, communities often adapt. Some people choose to follow the countdown from their homes, toasting with family or improvising small indoor parties. The ability to overcome adverse weather conditions teaches us that the true value of the new year does not depend solely on fireworks or loud music, but on the collective will to transform even a meteorological setback into an experience that reaffirms social ties and hope for the future. Number 16. The effect on the foreign exchange market. The foreign exchange market, which operates almost uninterruptedly on a global level, experiences a particular dynamic around the new year. As the final hours of December 31st approach, many trading desks reduce their activity as traders take time off, banking institutions in some countries close, and trading volumes decline. This momentary relaxation in market intensity allows for a readjustment of positions, a brief respite from the usual currency frenzy, and, at times, slight fluctuations in the value of currencies. The decentralized nature of the foreign exchange market and the multiple time zones create a complex choreography. While Tokyo, London, and New York coordinate their trading days, the transition from one year to the next produces an atypical overlap. Some investors take advantage of this context to close accounts, fix profits for the year that is ending, or strategically prepare for the coming year. Although the effect of the new year on the currency market may seem subtle compared to the magnitude of global economic forces, Its existence confirms that even the most abstract and globalized economy is influenced by social and temporal patterns. This time interval between the last day of December and the first day of January highlights the human dimension of finance. For a brief period, the monetary dance slows down, giving room for reflection, comparison with the previous year, and preparation of future goals. Thus, the new year is not only a cultural event, but also a strategic marker in financial activity, reminding us that, however technological the world of currencies may be, it continues to be inhabited by people, stories, and cycles, whose end and beginning are sealed with the change of the date on the calendar. Number 15. First Baby of the Year as News. The appearance of the first baby of the year has become a traditional news item that the media enthusiastically highlight every January 1st. This custom, which was established in the mid-20th century, seeks to highlight the hope, innocence, and new beginnings symbolized by the birth of a human being at the exact turn of the calendar. Newspapers, radio stations, television programs, and digital portals rush to find out the name, weight, exact time, and identity of the happy parents, creating a small competition at local or national level to determine where the first birth of the year took place. The count is done with almost surgical precision. Some maternity wards and health institutions keep a close eye on their clocks and share the information with the press, aware of the sentimental relevance that the public attaches to the news. This event is not only a medical anecdote, but a social act with a strong symbolic charge. The first baby of the year is often presented as a symbol of renewal, a living reminder of the new stage that begins for the whole society. Sometimes, local governments or businessmen donate gifts or incentives to the family, reinforcing the humanitarian dimension of the story. Beyond cultural and geographical differences, the figure of the baby of the year transcends borders, embodying the concept that, with each new day, dreams, illusions, and opportunities are born. This media coverage serves as a bridge between the spectacularity of New Year's Eve and the daily lives of ordinary people, reminding us that the change of digit on the calendar is accompanied by real changes in human lives, often discreet but deeply significant. Number 14. The evolution of the countdown. The countdown is an essential element of New Year's celebrations in cultures around the world. Its origins date back to informal practices such as listening to the chimes of a public clock or marking the last seconds with one's voice or hands. However, with the passage of time and the advent of new technologies, the countdown has transformed into a spectacle in its own right. Giant digital screens, illuminated scoreboards, mobile applications, and international broadcasts have turned the counting of the last 10 seconds into a moment of maximum tension and excitement shared globally. This evolution reflects cultural adaptation to the available media. Whereas in the past people relied on sound signals, bells, horns, gunshots in the air, today digital images allow the gesture to be synchronized across multiple languages and time zones. In some cities, the bells are replaced by multimedia shows, in which the countdown is projected onto the facades of iconic buildings, accompanied by music, laser lights, and 3D projections. In parallel, social networks amplify the experience, allowing friends and family scattered around the planet to share these last seconds of the year in real time, reinforcing the sense of a global community. The symbolic importance of the countdown lies in its simplicity: 10, 9, 8. Each number is a step towards the imminent future, a way of channeling expectations and channeling collective emotions towards a common climax. This practice consolidates the feeling that all of humanity is crossing a temporal door in unison. Thus, the countdown, today almost omnipresent in televised celebrations and on the screens of our devices, encapsulates the heart of the New Year experience, the conscious, participatory, and shared preparation for a new beginning. Number 13. First photographs of the New Year. The invention of photography in the 19th century and its subsequent accessibility to the public changed the way society documented special moments, and New Year's was no exception. The first photographs of the New Year date back to the late 19th and early 20th centuries, when professional and even amateur portrait photographers began using cameras to capture the festive atmosphere. Families gathered together, tables decorated with white tablecloths and traditional foods, or streets full of people wrapped up in winter celebrations. These black and white images often appeared in newspapers and magazines, providing visual testimony to the social climate of the new year. With the arrival of portable cameras and later color photography, New Year's documentation became more spontaneous and diverse. People could immortalize the first sunrise of the year, fireworks at the right moment of their chromatic explosion, the smiling faces of loved ones, and toasts full of hope. As photographic techniques improved, so did the artistic possibilities. Long exposure times to capture light trails in the sky, wide shots showing crowds at iconic celebrations, and intimate portraits reflecting the joy of temporal transition. Today, New Year photography is a natural part of the festive ritual. With the proliferation of smartphones and social media, the act of photographing has become a tool of collective expression. The contemporary world instantly shares its images online, connecting local celebration with a global audience. Thus, the first New Year photographs, still static and limited, paved the way for the current visual explosion, in which each snapshot becomes a fragment of the human experience of time, tradition, and renewed hope. Number 12. Airports adjust operations. International air traffic does not stop on December 31st. Airports around the world continue to operate, although often with slight adjustments to their operations. Some airlines schedule special flights that cross midnight, offering passengers the unique experience of ringing in the new year in midair, at thousands of feet above sea level. Others choose to reduce frequencies due to lower demand on certain routes, resulting in more flexible schedules for staff and less crowding in terminals. These adjustments are not limited to flight scheduling. Duty-free shops within airports may prepare themed promotions, cafes and restaurants offer festive menus, and small celebrations are sometimes organized in waiting rooms for travelers who spend midnight waiting for a connection. On a logistical level, airport management seeks to optimize gate assignments and ground staff tasks, taking into account the changing dynamics of air traffic during the holidays. This scenario underlines the airport industry's ability to adapt to the cultural and social context. Although punctuality and operational efficiency remain priorities, airports take on a more human and festive tone as the new year approaches. For some travelers, New Year's Eve at an air terminal can represent the beginning of an adventure in unknown lands, the reunion with distant relatives, or the culmination of a dream trip. Thus, the airport, normally perceived as a transit space, takes on a symbolic dimension for a few hours, reflecting that transit is not only geographical, but also temporal and emotional. Number 11. Creation of the long weekend. The establishment of January 1st as an official holiday in many countries led, over time, to the creation of a long weekend around the new year, especially when the date falls close to Saturday or Sunday. This adaptation of the work and school calendar seeks to guarantee a long break that allows people to celebrate the temporary transition without rushing and enjoy short trips or family reunions. Thus, the long weekend becomes a buffer of valuable time for recreation, internal tourism, and the strengthening of social ties. This phenomenon was not immediate. For centuries, agricultural work and artisanal production were not easily stopped for holidays. However, with industrialization, labor legislation, and the development of the service sector, the custom of taking advantage of the New Year's festivities to extend the days off arose. The result was the strengthening of an already deep-rooted practice. The New Year is not just a night, but a mini-transition period, in which society grants itself a break before resuming its usual rhythm. The creation of the long weekend redefines the relationship between festive time and productive time. In addition to providing an opportunity for leisure, it contributes to the economic dynamism in sectors such as hotels, gastronomy, and entertainment. The public takes advantage of it to make getaways to nearby destinations, relax in natural surroundings, or simply rest at home, multiplying the regenerative effect of the celebration. Thus, the long weekend is not only a respite in the calendar, but a reflection of how contemporary societies integrate celebration into their time management, reconciling leisure, family, and economy. Number 10. The Guinness World Record for Fireworks. The competition to put on the biggest fireworks display on New Year's Eve has led cities and organizations to try to break world records. The Guinness Book of Records has repeatedly certified the largest or most numerous fireworks display at midnight on December 31st. Sydney, Dubai, Rio de Janeiro, and other metropolises have deployed huge amounts of pyrotechnics, carefully synchronized with music and visual choreography, in an attempt to transcend mere local celebration and achieve global fame. Planning for a record-breaking event is extremely complex. Teams of engineers, pyrotechnicians, musicians, lighting technicians, and safety experts spend months designing a show that combines technical precision and artistic beauty. Launch zones separated by kilometers are established. Computer systems are programmed to coordinate the simultaneous firing of thousands of devices, and lighting sequences are rehearsed that draw geometric figures or cultural illusions in the sky. The media impact of achieving a record is enormous, attracting tourism, sponsors, and global television coverage. These attempts to break world records reflect human ambition and imagination, as well as the capacity of the international community to admire shared achievements. Although the ephemeral splendor of fireworks lasts only a few minutes, the symbolic and emotional impact lives on in the collective memory. The Guinness certification not only holds a cold and numerical record, but encapsulates the creative and logistical effort of a city that, at the beginning of the new year, set out to give the world a sample of its ingenuity, its joy, and its determination to shine under the night vault. Number 9. The cultural agenda of the first day of the year. The first day of the year is not limited to a hangover or a relaxing stay at home. In many cities, a special cultural and artistic agenda is prepared for January 1st. Concerts, exhibitions, film screenings, parades, and craft markets flourish, taking advantage of the time off work and the optimistic atmosphere of the coming year. Some events, such as the traditional New Year's concert in Vienna, have become unmissable events, with an international audience tuning in to enjoy the waltzes and polkas of the Strauss family. These cultural programs on the first day of the year have a dual purpose. On the one hand, they energize the leisure offer at a time when the population has free time. On the other, they reinforce the symbolic meaning of the change of calendar. Art, music, dance, and cinema act as messengers of the new stage, providing inspiration and reflection. In addition, they are opportunities for cultural institutions, museums, theaters, galleries, to attract new audiences, inviting them to start the year with enriching and stimulating experiences for the mind and spirit. The consolidation of the cultural agenda on January 1st is part of the contemporary trend of considering free time as an integral part of public life. Far from being an empty day or a simple recovery after the previous night, the new year becomes a canvas that each community paints with its activities, shows, and traditions. Thus, culture accompanies us from the first dawn of the year, reminding us that the time that begins is also a space for aesthetic enjoyment, social cohesion, and the continuity of creative legacies that transcend the change of digits on the calendar. Number 8. Vacation rental spikes. The combination of vacations, holidays, and the cultural appeal of the new year triggers a notable increase in vacation rentals. Families, groups of friends, and couples are looking for different options to say goodbye to the year. Whether it's a cabin near a frozen lake, an apartment with a view of the fireworks, or a beach house where they can enjoy warm temperatures. This seasonal demand boosts vacation rental platforms and stimulates local economies, especially in popular tourist destinations. Advanced planning is essential, as the most attractive properties are often booked months in advance. Demand not only affects the price of accommodations, which are generally higher at this time, but also forces hosts to prepare to receive guests from diverse origins, adapting check-in times, offering packages with special dinners, or suggesting local activities to enjoy the surroundings. This context shows that seasonal New Year tourism generates an industry of its own, with highly specialized service and experience providers. Peaks in holiday rentals reflect the collective desire to transform the turn of the year into an experience different from the usual routine. For many, leaving their home at this time symbolizes the break with the past and the beginning of a new stage in an unknown environment. The geography of the celebration expands, multiplying the cultural and economic impact of the new year. From the mountains of Europe to the Pacific Islands, the celebration becomes a perfect excuse to rediscover the world and at the same time get to know oneself in foreign settings full of promise. Number 7. The adjustment of atomic clocks. The precise measurement of time is essential in many areas, from satellite navigation to telecommunications. Atomic clocks, based on the stability of the frequency emitted by atoms, have become the absolute reference to guarantee time accuracy on a planetary level. The new year is an occasion when metrology institutes and the entities responsible for official time make minute adjustments, either to synchronize with the Earth's rotation or to introduce leap seconds when discrepancies between atomic and astronomical time require it. These adjustments seek to maintain coherence between civil time and natural time, preserving the symbolic link between clocks and the Earth's movement around the Sun. The technical complexity involved in determining the exact length of a second and its correspondence to natural cycles is a reminder that, despite high technology, time remains a cultural construct that attempts to reflect cosmic order. At the turn of the year, this coordination is especially significant, as the entire world resets its symbolic chronology while scientists ensure the accuracy of the temporal pulse. The adjustments to atomic clocks are a reflection of the relationship between science and society. In order for us to enjoy the countdown, the international synchronization of events, or simply read the time on our electronic devices, there is a group of specialists who ensure temporal accuracy and coherence. In this way, the new year is not only a social celebration, but also a milestone in the ongoing task of aligning human time with the perfection of the universe, without losing sight of the fact that the exact minute in which the year changes is also the result of our incessant search to understand and share time. Number 6. First journalistic chronicles of the new year. Long before live television or social media, newspapers were responsible for reporting on New Year's celebrations. The first journalistic chronicles about the annual change appeared in the 18th century and were consolidated in the 19th, when local and regional newspapers dedicated pages to describing how the new year had been welcomed in squares, churches, noble houses, or urban boulevards. These chronicles offered details of the clothing, music, illustrious guests, and meals served, contributing to forming a collective memory of festive customs. Over time, the chronicles evolved and became more professional. Journalists began to incorporate opinions, compare the celebration with that of the previous year, and even predict trends for the incoming cycle. In this way, the social pulse was reflected. The joys and concerns that accompanied each annual change found their echo in the printed paper. These narratives not only informed, but also shaped the perception of the holiday. Through the press, the public learned about the magnitude of the celebrations in other corners of the world, thus stimulating cultural exchange. The arrival of photography and the subsequent emergence of radio and television transformed the chronicles, making them more immediate and visual. But their essence remains. Journalism continues to play a key role in portraying the new year, creating a narrative that connects the past with the present. These early chronicles, as rudimentary as they were, laid the groundwork for the current news discourse, in which millions of people follow the minute-by-minute events of December 31st, feeding the historical memory of one of the most universal celebrations of humanity. Number 5. International coordination of televised events. International television coverage of the new year requires a complex choreography that involves channels, correspondents, producers, cameramen, presenters, and technicians scattered around the globe. While some cities have already entered the new year, others are still waiting for midnight. The most influential television channels plan their schedules months in advance, determining which festivities they will show live, at what time they will connect with each country, and how they will synchronize the broadcasts to offer a global mosaic of celebrations. This international coordination involves agreements with foreign networks, news agencies, and freelance journalists, as well as the use of satellites, fiber optics, and the internet to guarantee stable and high-quality transmissions. The objective is to give the audience the possibility of virtually traveling to Tokyo, Moscow, Paris, Mexico City, or Buenos Aires, contemplating the diversity of rituals, from fireworks in ports and squares to religious ceremonies and formal banquets. The television screen becomes a multicultural window that reinforces the feeling that the new year is a planetary event. The technical difficulty and logistical precision necessary to orchestrate this global coverage highlight the power of the media as builders of a shared temporal consciousness. Television, with its ability to offer simultaneous images from different points on the planet, reinforces the idea that we are all living the same crucial moment despite the time difference. This synchronization is not limited to the technical. It reinforces empathy and mutual curiosity, showing that humanity, in its diversity, can briefly unite around a symbolic event that gives meaning to the passage of time. Number 4. Pre-midnight rehearsals. The flawless execution of the New Year's Eve show, especially in such complex scenarios as synchronized fireworks, mass concerts, or television broadcasts, is not left to chance. Days before December 31st, cities and producers organize general or partial rehearsals to calibrate the technical elements involved in the event. These tests include setting up sound equipment, checking lighting, checking transmission links, coordinating pyrotechnic effects, and rehearsing artistic choreographies. Although most rehearsals are held without an audience or with restricted access, local residents often notice the unusual bustle and lights in the sky, wondering what is going on. For authorities and organizers, these moments beforehand are crucial to detect errors, anticipate unforeseen events, and ensure that, come midnight, everything runs smoothly. If something goes wrong, there is still time to correct, adjust and fine-tune the details. Thus, the rehearsal becomes a discreet but indispensable ritual, reflecting the rigor and professionalism with which the celebration is approached. The practice of rehearsing for the new year reveals a less visible facet of the event, its scenic dimension. It is not just a spontaneous celebration, but a great global spectacle that integrates artistic, technical, and logistical elements. Success on the stellar night is the result of hours of silent preparation. Just as a pianist rehearses his notes before the concert, cities and production teams rehearse their own symphony of time, ensuring that the leap into the coming year is harmonious, safe, and memorable for those who witness it, whether in person or through the media. Number 3. Increase in electricity consumption. The New Year festivities bring with them a significant increase in electricity consumption, driven by decorative lighting, audiovisual shows, prolonged operation of commercial premises, heating in the Northern Hemisphere, or air conditioning in the Southern Hemisphere, as well as the intensive use of electronic devices to capture and share the moment. This energy demand can generate peaks in the electrical networks, forcing distribution companies to prepare in advance to avoid outages or overloads. This phenomenon reveals the contemporary dependence on energy to liven up our celebrations. Light, more than a functional resource, becomes a scenic component that accentuates the festive atmosphere. From gigantic illuminated signs in Times Square to thousands of bulbs on the streets of large capitals, electricity gives material form to collective enthusiasm. The control centers of the electrical network monitor these increases closely, and in some countries, governments even issue recommendations to citizens to moderate energy consumption, reminding them that the celebration must not compromise sustainability. The relationship between New Year and energy illustrates the crucial role of infrastructure in everyday life. Without a steady supply, many of the iconic images of December 31st, whether digital projections, amplified music, live broadcasts, or simply the lights of the home, would not be possible. This increase is a metaphor for the power of technology in the modern holiday. We celebrate time, but we also celebrate the human capacity to illuminate the night and fill the world with light and color in an instant marked by the hope of a better cycle. Number 2. The first new year in the digital age. The arrival of the 21st century was accompanied by the consolidation of the digital age, and the new year was quick to adapt to this technological transformation. The first new year fully celebrated in the digital age, the transition from 1999 to 2000, turned out to be an event full of expectations, fears of the famous year 2000 effect, and an unprecedented media effervescence. Millions of people were glued to the screens of their computers, televisions, and mobile devices, following the countdown from different corners of the globe. For the first time, the global internet allowed humanity to share the change of millennium in real time, intensifying the sensation of living the same planetary moment. Since then, the digital age has revolutionized the way we experience the new year. Social networks, real-time video calls, live broadcasts through online platforms, and the instantaneous dissemination of messages and photographs have created an interactive and global environment. It is no longer necessary to wait for the front page of the next day's newspaper to find out what happened in Tokyo or Rio de Janeiro. We can witness it instantly in a streaming broadcast. Time boundaries are blurred in a great multimedia event in which everyone participates, reacts, and comments. This first new year in the digital age marked a before and after in the way we relate to time and space. Digitalization has democratized information, giving millions of people the possibility of witnessing and participating in celebrations in different parts of the planet. Thus, The ancient tradition of welcoming the year with shared rituals has found in technology a platform to multiply the scope of the experience, turning the change of date into a node of global connection that transcends borders and cultures, and that will continue to evolve as the digital age is perfected and expanded. Number 1. The coordination of the World New Year. The concept of a World New Year did not exist before the era of instant global communications. While different cultures have celebrated the annual transition for centuries, it was the technical ability to transmit images, sounds, and data in real time that consolidated the notion of a planetary event. Today, the world is witnessing a kind of festive relay, starting with the countries of the South Pacific, which enter the year earlier than the rest, and ending with the islands that are further behind in the time zone. This temporal parade unites humanity in a secular and universal ritual, the joint welcome to the future. For this to happen, extraordinary coordination is necessary between governments, media companies, cultural organizations, meteorologists, telecommunications technicians, airline crews, streaming services, and digital platforms. Each link in this chain contributes its know-how so that millions can enjoy the collective experience. The global New Year is a logistical feat that brings together time precision, advanced technology, and a common desire to share the joy of the moment when the clock strikes midnight of a new cycle. This coordinated effort symbolizes the human capacity to transcend differences and concentrate on a common goal. As each country adds its cultural touch, music, food, dance, fireworks, global society shares the essence of the moment, the renewal of hope. The coordination of the World New Year reminds us that, despite the challenges, we can act in harmony, tuned to the universal pulse of time. At that very moment when the year changes, we all look forward, aware that, although we live in very different scenarios, the drive towards the future unites us in the experience of shared time. Thank you for watching our video. Subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. Give it a like, comment your thoughts, and share this video with your friends and family.